Are you ready? Oh, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing, man.
The League Podcast.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? You got J&D here with The League Podcast.
That's right.
Today we will be covering a few guys, I should say, coming off suspension that I think and Jay thinks that they can make a pretty big impact on your team and your season moving forward, as well as yesterday was Waiver Wire Wednesday, so we want to talk about all the top guys that were chosen, and if they're worthy of a start or sit this week, and kind of what we think of them season long as well.
Yeah.
But
Startable, not
yeah,
startable.
definitely, man. Before anything, though, go check out our website, www.theleaguefantasyfootball.wordpress.com, and on there, you'll find all of our social media, including our SoundCloud, which is where you'll find our podcast on, and that's going to be at The League Podcast, as well as for Facebook and Instagram is at The League Podcast as well. And then also go follow us on Twitter at The League Pod. On Sunday morning, we're hitting it hard with start sits, suggestions on what you guys should do with your team. So shoot it over to us, and let's get into it, Jay. Let's talk about these suspended players.
Let's do it.
So first and foremost, I want you to talk about your boy Mark Ingram,
Yep.
who you drafted in our keeper league.
And I know tons of people drafted him. Obviously this guy you're relying on to be that RB2 with RB1 upside. And you're looking at Alvin Kamara, though, saying, is it going to happen? Because he's just dominating in that backfield. Why would they use Mark Ingram? I'll tell you why. Because Sean Payton loves Mark Ingram, and they really are missing that solid ground game to just really pound the rock and finish games out. They're airing it out with a lot of these teams, so Mark Ingram's going to come in, and he's going to be involved in that offense when it comes to pounding that rock. And they're going to find a way. Sean Payton even came out and said, we're going to find a way to get them both involved. Simple as that. So if you have Mark Ingram coming back off a suspension, you are so excited because now you have that easy plug and play for that running back spot that you might be hurting at, and or flex. Like I'm in a position where I have 5 running backs, so one of which is Le'Veon Bell, who he's not playing either. So I have 4 that I could start. Mark Ingram, I don't even need to start this week, so I'm actually going to possibly sit him this week just to see how he's involved and try and figure out that offense a little bit more. But I could bite myself in the butt because I have a feeling Mark Ingram, first game back, he's going to score 1 or 2 touchdowns.
He definitely will.
I definitely might end up playing him just because of that reason, and it's a Monday night game, so I love those games, so I probably will play him, but I'm in a position where I could, and I think if you are in a position where you can, maybe watch him 1 week if you can get away with it, and see how he gets involved in that offense. But no doubt, coming in week 2, I think Ingram's going to be a huge fantasy player, as will be Kamara and Thomas still. I think that's one of the best fantasy offenses in the league right now. But that's a running back, Mark Ingram, coming off suspension. There is one more running back that you've been kind of beating around the bush about, and I haven't heard anything about, Dill. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about Robert Turbin coming off this 4-week suspension?
Yeah, so I like to let everyone know right now, I am always ahead of the curve. So when I sit here and see a guy like Robert Turbin that nobody's talking about, just like a couple years back with Tyreek Hill, I picked him up 2 weeks before he had his breakout week, and that led to his breakout season.
And what'd you do with him?
I dropped him.
So he's maybe ahead of the curve, but
I am
decision
ahead
making,
of the curve,
he's
but
very
I'm
indecisive.
I like to go through a lot of players. I picking up, dropping. I'm just trying to always find that spark, and I always find the spark, but I always drop them too. So, anyways, Robert Turbin. I think this guy has the potential to be, that complement to the Nyheim Hines, who we'll be talking about today. I think they could be a nice 1-2 punch. Robert Turbin, being that goal line guy, pounding the rock in, the short yardage guy, maybe first, second down. He's a big dude. He's good at pass blocking. So I think that's a huge positive on the behalf of Andrew Luck and their beat up offensive line. He obviously this week, you got to see. It's a Thursday night game. That's a little nerve-wracking to start a guy coming off suspension on Thursday with not a ton of preparation. So I would see him maybe getting 5 to 10 carries this week. But if he does well, next week look to see him getting 10 to 15 carries, and possibly more, possibly goal line work. And he probably will be one of the biggest waiver wire pickups next week when it's all said and done. So,
yeah, I look at him kind of like a Mike Davis coming in, and he could really just end up turning heads because he's getting a bulk of carries and being the guy. But I'm
They're
a
looking
huge
for
fan
someone-
of Nyheim Hines.
I am
though,
too.
so-
I am too. But he is a small little dude that, as you've noticed in the past years, these small guys have not been able to be healthy when asked to take on a big burden, a big load. So I do think that they will be smart with Nyheim Hines and utilize the crap out of him because he's very, very, very
Yeah,
good.
and we'll break him down as we get into our segment here. But
So,
let's
yeah,
get
Robert
into our
Turbin.
well, and obviously Robert Turbin. So you're maybe not picking him up this week, but maybe
If I have a roster spot, I'm picking him up. It's simple as that. But right now, unfortunately, I don't. And I actually have pretty decent depth at running back across the board. So if I'm more receiver strong and running back, weak, then that's when I'll take a chance on him. If I have to, or 14-team league, I for sure am picking him up.
yeah. Well, you heard it here first. Look out for Robert Turbin. Dill definitely is, and I think you should too. It's a Thursday night game, so you'll see him. So
Yeah.
look out for him. He'll, like you said, hot waiver wire commodity. I bet going into next week too. Good call. But we have one more guy coming off suspension. 4-weeker as well. He's coming back. Or I'm sorry, he's coming back week 7. Is he not?
No, he comes
6?
back this week.
Really?
So he had a 4-game suspension as well.
Could have sworn it was a 5-week suspension.
Julian Edelman will be back with Tom Brady, and obviously that Patriots offense has really struggled
They need him.
without him. I shouldn't say the Patriots offense, I should say the Patriots receiving core. They went out and got Josh Gordon in hopes, so I think that Josh Gordon can get a little bit better and help that offense a little bit, but Julian Edelman obviously is Tom's guy, and especially with Rob Gronkowski now being injured and not sure if he's going to play, every single time that he's hurt, he gets an upstick in play. He gets way more
PPR
protection.
monster.
Yeah. So Julian Edelman, I think he's a obvious throw him straight into your lineup. Wide receiver 2,
Wow.
possible wide receiver 1 by the end of the year.
That's amazing. Yeah, he's getting thrown through the ringer in our league right now. I drafted him. Dylan and I made a blockbuster trade. I traded Julian Edelman in that. Dylan just threw him in the gutter to Tyler Cederoth for basically half a bag of Skittles and a gold mine in Aaron Jones. But anyway, yeah, so Julian Edelman, though, if you happen to have had him without having to get rid of him already or somehow, shape, or form, you end up with him on your team.
You're lucky.
You're lucky. Great job.
I have a league where it's 6 bench spots, and I have Mark Ingram and Julian Edelman that I drafted, so I am stoked. This week, my team just got that much better. They've been on my bench the whole time, and I'm 3-1.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, where
it's
I
looking
was
really good.
That's how I was in our league, our keeper league, and I also for week 1 Le'Veon Bell is out too. So I had a nightmare 3 guys that I couldn't even play of the situation. So I got a little
Unlimited
freaked
bench.
out, of course. But anywho, those are the suspended players coming back. So definitely keep an eye out for them. But what are we gonna get into?
Waiver wire starts in 6.
Yeah. Let's
Woo!
do it. Let's
get
do it.
in-
Let's get
into
into
it here.
those starts and sits for those waiver wire guys that we picked up this week. Next podcast, we'll be talking about our starts and sits for the rest of the week for the rest of the games. So we just wanted to get, I felt like it was a pretty solid waiver wire Wednesday this week. So
Really is.
it is. So that's why we definitely want to cover some of these guys that were picked up in majority of leagues for those top, 5, 6
Yeah, and
spots.
coming into this week with bye weeks, with all the injuries going on, there's going to be some guys that you got to target, or obviously, hopefully you woke up with on your lineup or your roster today, and we're going to tell you whether to deploy them or not this week.
Yeah.
So, Dill, why don't we start with the top guy? I think this was probably one of the number 1 guys across the board being picked up this week, and that's the Texans boy, young rook, young buck, Kiki Coutier. This is your boy, so I really want you to preach on him.
Well, going into the combine, we watched a lot of the combine being in Japan.
Yep,
Damn
near all of it.
Yeah, and so he was a big standout in it. Not only just how quick he was and how athletic he was, but he was catching everything. He was running sharp
Well,
routes.
I remember during the draft them showing highlights of him at Texas Tech. I couldn't believe some of the highlights we
Yeah,
were watching.
ridiculous.
He's insane.
He's ridiculous. And so, obviously being super fast in that 4.3 range as well, being able to catch the ball and run with the ball and run route, like he can do it all. And I was shocked that he, got drafted later than he should have, in my opinion. He's going to be one of the top rookie receivers for the rest of the year. I was super high on him, obviously, and I wanted to pick him up. I wanted to draft him, but he was hurt. And they weren't sure when he was going to come back. And obviously last week he came out with a bang. He came out with a huge bang in his first game, obviously, getting a crazy amount of targets. 15 targets. 15 targets, man. I mean, it's pretty unheard of.
It's actually is unheard of. He set a rookie record for season debut of targets and catches. I mean,
11
Dylan,
catches, 15
he
targets.
set a record in his first game because of just his usage alone or his, amount of involvement in that offense.
Yeah, and obviously we got a little fragile Will Fuller over there that can't stay healthy. He obviously got hurt last game.
Yep.
Not sure if he's going to play this week or not, but even if he does, he's a ticking time bomb. So as soon as he goes down, Kiki's going to go straight into that number 2 role.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. With the amount of injuries in that offense, it could make for some huge upside, as we've already seen.
It's just, it sucks. I really, really wanted him. I need help at receiver position, but, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, Kiki Coutier is going to be a startable player on a weekly basis, in my opinion, for the rest of the year.
Wow.
Especially with, Deshaun Watson just slings the ball, and I feel like they're going to be in a lot of games where they got to throw the ball. And obviously it's tough to run the ball with that offensive line. So, look for him to be, a weekly flex, maybe even a wide receiver 2 by the end of the year.
So I want to, with that being said, this week he plays a tough Dallas matchup. It is in Houston. Dallas has been pretty stingy to pass offense up to this point. So would you deploy Kiki this week?
I would.
You would.
I would.
Even if Fuller and Hawkins play?
It depends on your situation. Like in my situation, if I would have picked up Kiki Coutier,
I would have
started him this week. I would have started him. So
I think too, he's deployable.
But if you have an Odell and a Devontae Adams, it's different.
It's different, but he's still worth a flex.
Oh,
possibly.
for sure.
That's where I'd wait a little. I'd for sure roster him and have him, but because DeAndre Hopkins is already banged up, ankle, hand, fingers, whatever it is, and then you got Will Fuller, like you said, ticking time bomb. Kiki Coutier is going to flourish in this offense, so just a matter of time. So I think whoever got him, you should be so happy to have him on your roster.
Definitely, and I think that rolls into our number 1 running back that was picked up off the waiver wire this week, and I think we all wanted him. We obviously spoke about him a little bit earlier. Yep. Nyheim Hines.
Sure.
So, Jay, why don't you speak a little bit about him? I know that you were really high on him.
Yeah, I mean, coming off a huge week, he caught 2 touchdown passes. He's a reliable receiving back for Andrew Luck. He caught 9 passes for 63 yards, so 9 catches. I mean, that's almost 10 points just by catching the ball, not to mention those 2 touchdowns. This guy is fast. Like Phil said, he's little. He was a collegiate sprinter, and that resulted in a sub 440 40 time this year, which just goes to show he's just going to be so shifty from that backfield.
And he looks
they just
faster
need to
than
dump
440.
it. He's so quick.
Yeah.
So they just need to dump him the ball, and in an open field, he can get the ball. I mean, coming out of North Carolina State, he caught almost 90 passes over his collegiate career, so he can catch. But what really stands out to me is, like you said, we were talking about offline, you really look at Turbin as that runner, but I could see, and I know he's small, but he can be a runner. His junior year, he rushed for over 1,100 yards and had 12 touchdowns. So I think he can actually get it done on the ground, but to your point, with Turbin coming back, I don't know how much they'll have to rely on him having to rush the ball a lot. They're going to really use him as that pass-catching back, and I think he's going to be super involved just by doing that, especially with T.Y. Hilton going down, Jack Doyle not in that offense. He's going to be catching tons of balls out of that backfield.
Even if they have him and Turbin in at the same time, they just really utilize him as that pass catcher. So
totally. And sorry, go ahead.
No, definitely. I just think that he can definitely be another weekly flex position. He's once again one of those Tariq Cohens that's going to have a big game and then come back down to life. Have a big game, come back to life. So I think it's just based off the matchup and who they're playing.
I do think he's going to have, coming off a huge game last week, I think he's going to have another big one this week.
For sure.
Facing New England, they've been very generous to all offenses coming into this game. So I definitely think this is another Nyheim Hines game where you can flex him.
And we know the Patriots are going to score.
Yeah, it's going to be a high-scoring game, I think, too. So I could see him having another good week. I think this week as well, and long term, he's startable, no doubt. So who else still? Who are we really top of the list? I really feel like there's a receiver that is going to be very valuable. He's coming out of Jacksonville, all right? So this is D.D. Westbrook. He's only owned right now in 20% of Yahoo leagues. And he just set single game career highs. 9 catches on 13 targets with 130 yards receiving. he had himself a day, and I obviously feel like Blake Bortles feels the most comfortable throwing him the ball. I just I think he's a yards after catch monster. He literally just every time he catches the ball, he gets more positive yards. He's not just a possession guy. He's trying to get to the house every single play.
He's definitely a big play machine, man. I mean, in college, he set records for receiving. So we know that this guy is a playmaker when you get the ball in his hands. And, sorry.
No,
Blake Bortles has definitely looked a lot better this year.
Blake is also a waiver wire add as well if you are definitely needing that running back. But it seems like in our waiver wire, we have so many quarterbacks. Andy Dalton, Mariota, Blake Bortles, all these guys. So, I think this guy, Dede Westbrook, could be a bye-week savior or injury savior, whatever it may be for your team. But also, don't sleep on Dante Moncrief.
He's then you got Keelan Cole, too.
You do, but I'm not, I don't know. I was super high on Keelan Cole, but I'm just seeing him getting kind of fizzled out. But then he's going to pop off for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But
every week it's someone different.
Moncrief also got over 100 yards receiving last week. So it's going to be kind of hard to hit the nail on the hammer or whatever you want to say for which one each week is going to be the guy. But they're throwing the ball. Leonard Fournette's hurt. Can't rely as much on that run game as they want to, even though TJ Yeldon is definitely holding it down. Another guy that you should be picking up as well if you need him. But I think Dede Westbrook could definitely get the job done. PPR monster, yards after catch monster. If you got him on your team, I think you're definitely solid and happy. They're facing a Kansas City defense this week who is super generous to pass the pass game. So I like him. I'm starting him. I'd start him this week, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
Let's move on to the next guy who, he is one of the top guys to pick up this week, but it's also a RBBC looking like it's coming to fruition. So Chris Carson all of a sudden was called out. We talked about this in our last podcast. Mike Davis comes in and has a huge week. 21 rushes, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns with 4 catches for 23 yards.
Damn.
I mean, that's a beautiful fantasy week, what you're thinking about. But, Pete Carroll came out and said this is going to be a rotation with Chris Carson, maybe a little bit of Rashad Penny. They're talking about putting Rashad Penny now as a special teamer, so he's going to be taken out of the equation. No more Rashad Penny. Drop him if you have him.
Which crazy is because he was drafted in the
first round.
No. Yeah, he was a first-round pick, but I'm thinking of fantasy-wise. He was drafted in the 6th round?
Easily.
I mean, that's high for someone that everyone didn't know what to expect.
I did a draft with you, of course, and a group of people, and we all drafted at this restaurant, and I drafted Chris Carson, and the guy who drafted Rashad Penny like a round or 2 later looked at me like I was crazy. He said, "You are crazy. Rashad Penny's the guy." I said, Just wait. I know what Chris Carson's got. Obviously, he's got a bunch of injuries in front of him, so that's why Mike Davis is someone you have to roster, especially if you're a Chris Carson owner. I hate doing the 2 running backs of the same team on my team.
The handcuff.
But I have to. Yeah, the handcuff, man. I had to because Chris Carson is a beast when he can play, but when he doesn't play, then Mike Davis has actually looked really good last week and last year when he came in and, subbed in for Chris Carson. But unfortunately, Mike Davis got hurt last year as well. And so both these guys have their injury concerns, but both these guys have obviously both shown that they can run the ball as well. Obviously, it's a tough matchup this week against my Rams, but the Rams have also shown to be vulnerable in the running game. So if Chris Carson is out this week, I'm for sure starting Mike Davis. I'm firing him up as a flex. Possibly even if you need him as your second running back, like Jordan Howard's on a bye week. So if you need someone to fill in for Jordan Howard, Mike Davis is the guy if Chris Carson doesn't play.
Have you seen any updates on Chris Carson at all?
They say he's going to play. Pete Carroll said he's pretty sure he's going to play, and that's why they're talking about the rotation. And so if he does, I'm not playing either of them. I'm sitting on both on my bench and watching to see what happens. But knowing, you just never know. The first 2 weeks literally split down the middle between Penny and Chris Carson, and so now he's in a rotation. So I'm guessing it's going to be literally split down the middle with these 2 guys as well, or he's going to give 20 plus carries to one and 5 to 10 to the other.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Interesting to continue to watch in that backfield,
and that's what the waiver's about. It's like you got to pick up guys that you have hope in that they're gonna break out and do something for you, or if not, you just drop them for the next week and move on to pick up hopefully someone else that can help you for the rest of the year. Because there's probably about 10 to 20 guys on the waiver right now that we're not talking about, nobody's talking about, that eventually at the end of the year, if you have him on your team, you're winning championships because of him. So,
and leading up to these guys with really high upside that you're landing, there's a couple more guys out here that we really need to touch base about. We need to really talk about Ronald Jones, all right? So
Who?
Ronald Jones. Who? Obviously,
shout out,
quiet as could be coming up to this game even.
Inactive.
So scary. And not only that, they have a bye week this week. Even scarier to pick up and roster a guy that is on your bye. But let's look at this. Seriously look at this. So you're looking at a guy who he had 11 fewer snaps than Peyton Barber, but the rookie out-touched Barber 11-8. He also led the team in rushing, and it was a whole 29 yards. So I am worried about that rush offense without a doubt. I'm concerned about that offense in general, having Jameis Winston come back, and they just got really reamed in that last game. But I'm hoping off the bye week, and what everyone's kind of looking at is Ronald Jones is going to come into week 6 being the starter. He's going to be that lead back, and running backs are so hard to come by in fantasy football. Why not roster this guy? Why not just take the chance on him because of the possible upside? I am just strictly thinking of USC days and watching Ronald Jones and what he did on that collegiate football field. I'm trying to translate that to the NFL. I don't know if that will really happen. It hasn't to this point, but it's someone you might as well roster because, like I said, those running backs are so hard to come by. And if he could take that whole role, he could really end up, by the end of the year, being a decent fantasy running back. And I'm not talking anything more than a running back 2 to 3, but someone that could be a potential fantasy guy that you can start on a weekly basis. But that run game is scary, so we need to watch it moving forward. But I do think Ronald Jones is the starter coming into week 6. So if you got the spot, roster him, without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. I'm after watching, the last few weeks with the Buccaneers, they've just looked so bad. Actually, I shouldn't say that because everyone keeps hating on Peyton Barber, but he's actually averaging like over 4 yards a carry right now, and he's just not getting any touches. And like you said, he was out-touched by Ronald Jones with less playtime. So It just shows they're not giving Peyton Barber the ball. Well, they don't want to.
It's hard when you're down 38 and you're trying to pass the ball, I guess.
And what worries me about Ronald Jones, too, is his pass-catching ability. I mean, he dropped a ball. I picked him up, and then I dropped him after that because this guy is, I don't know. Hopefully it's just nerves, and hopefully he gets going because, like you said, he was I think a second-round pick by then, maybe a first.
He was the second round pick,
and I mean,
which he was projected to go in the first round.
He was.
This guy
He's got so much talent,
high talent, and he actually coming out of the bye week, he has a couple really favorable matchups. So if he does have that lead role, he plays Atlanta in week 6. I really could see them trying to pound that rock against Atlanta. So week 6 will be really interesting to watch that Bucs game and see how they what they do with their offense. But it could be a week where you're like stoked and have Ronald, or you're doing what you did and are like, fuck this guy and cut him. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But I rostered him just for that upside potential because running backs, like I said, are so hard to come by. But let's go with another guy who's super young, and his upside now, I feel like, is skyrocketing due to Rashard Matthews being cut. This is Twan Taylor on the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, clear number 2 receiver in that offense now. I know that I like him. I know that you like him. You just picked him up.
I love him. I've loved him for a long time, and I just feel like he hasn't had that opportunity. He's had always a plethora of people in front of him, still learning, still young. Now it's his time. Rashard Matthews done. Like you said, Rashard wanted to be out, so he's out now. He caught 7 and 9 targets last week for 77 yards, and he had multiple plays that should have been touchdowns that were just broken up, and I think personally underthrown by Mariota. This guy has the ability to create separation from those DBs. He's so elusive, and I just think his target should continue to pile up when it comes to every week by week, especially if Mariota's tossing the ball like he did last week.
Oh my gosh, I know Mariota was slinging that thing, and you know what? The biggest positive about this offense and what I see in their potential and positives moving forward is their offense coordinator, Matt LaFleur. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. He was the offense coordinator for the Rams last year, and so
it's your boy.
He loves to obviously throw the ball. He loves to throw downfield. The first few games, Mariota wasn't 100%, so he wasn't. I was nervous. You told me differently. And after seeing Mariota play, I mean, he was throwing the ball better than I've ever seen him throw the ball. Ever. I mean, I've never seen him take shots like that. So, except back in the day when he was at Oregon, you know?
And that's what's exciting about the future, like you're saying, is I think they're going to really deploy that offense to LaFleur's strengths and likings, and that really leads to Tawan Taylor's success.
Yeah, good play calling, obviously.
And hopefully
Corey
Henry's.
Davis looked really good. What was that?
I said, and hopefully Derrick Henry's. But yeah, Corey Davis, like I said last week, I definitely think Corey Davis now is a huge fantasy player. Wide receiver 2, if not wide receiver 1 on a weekly basis moving forward.
100%, man. And
But Tawan Taylor, available in lots of leagues across the board, so you might as well scoop him up because of his high upside. And, you know, with these receivers getting injured and bye weeks going on, not only was Tawan Taylor, but I think all of these guys, crucial pickups to your roster and could really benefit in some dubs for you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Anyone else you want to touch base on?
No, you know, I just had like Blake Bortles on here, but we kind of touched base on him. If you need a quarterback, go grab him. Any tight end, Dill, you're looking at this week?
I mean, I was looking at the tight end position. Really, the only one that is probably someone that potentially could be good is Cameron Brate. You know, obviously with the O.J. Howard injury, but O.J. Howard's only out for 2 to 4 weeks. So remember that. If someone drops him and you have an extra spot on your roster, pick him up. If you have an IR spot in your roster, in your league, pick him up, put him on that IR.
Definitely. And Cameron Brate's shown that when he plays without O.J. Howard, this man balls out.
He does.
So, and Jameis Winston loves Cameron Brate too. So this could make for a really nice week and maybe a couple weeks ahead while O.J.'s out for Cameron Brate to succeed. I love that. I love that call. But minimal call. I think only short time.
Yeah.
But might as well use it. Get it while it's hot. So Dill, let's we're gonna next podcast break down all the matchups coming into this week, your starts, your sits, our dislikes, our likes, all that good stuff, matchup based, all that, weather, you know. Like Dill said, hit us up on Twitter when it comes to any questions or answers, or message us, whatever it may be. But Dill, where can they find us?
So yeah, hit us up on Twitter Sunday, firing on all cylinders at DLeaguePod, as well as, you know, go to our Facebook, Instagram. You can send us questions on there and messages on there as well at DLeague Podcast, and then we'll be posting this podcast on SoundCloud at DLeague Podcast as well. All this will be on our website at www.dleaguefantasyfootball.wordpress.com. Go check it out, guys. Give us some love, give us some questions, and we'll win you some championships. Take care.
Can't wait.
What did I do? What did I do? The league, huh?